as about 5 years ago, there's a thing called the UK Statute Law Database, which anybody can watch, UK Statute Law Database, and that's definitive. And it publishes the text of acts in force, statutes in force, going back to, well, the earliest one is I think it's probably, there's one from 1260.
What about Magna Carta?
Magna Carta, well, we'll talk about Magna Carta in a moment.
It's not a statute.
It's not a statute, you see, it's a statute law database. So it's there for you to peruse, and importantly, it tells when an act of parliament has been amended. So if there's an old one and something comes along and amends it, then it's there. So it's definitive. Somebody got the hand? UK Statute Law Database.
Can I just interrupt? If you just Google the law that you want to look up, for example the Firearms Act, Google will chuck up every single act, both here and in Canada, America, anywhere. So just check for the law that you want to check.
Yeah, so UK Statute Law Database, there's another website called the Office of Public Sector Information, which you may have come across, but the Statute Law Database is definitive because it shows amendments. Okay, so that I'm losing my thread now. That's what we're talking about in relation to firearms. It's merely policy. So you ask the question: is it lawful to arm yourself if you haven't got a certificate? There are limitations on the defence of duress. Okay, you can only do it when it's necessary, and that means absolutely necessary. So if you haven't got grounds to do it, it doesn't apply. It doesn't provide a defence to treason or murder. So we're now talking about the limitations on the defence of duress. And the first thing is, you can't voluntarily put yourself in the position, and that was tested fairly recently, where a man joins a gang of horrible criminals, violent criminals, gets arrested, and said, "Well, I didn't join the gang voluntarily, but they made me stay." And the judge, quite right in my opinion, said, "Well, you shouldn't have volunteered in the first place, should you?" So you can't volunteer. So in my case, in relation to not paying council tax, did I volunteer to be in the EU? No. No, you guessed that, didn't you? Well, in actual fact, I must tell the truth. I was very young when the referendum was held in the 70s. I didn't know any better, but there we are.
What's the council tax got to do with the EU?
Because part of the funds that the council take in goes towards the EU. It's starving the beast at source.
The referendum was about the EU. It's about staying in a common market.
Yes. Okay, so we talked about the Firearms Act. If anyone's got any interest in this topic, I've got. It's not a book. It's a pamphlet that I've written. So we'll swap email addresses and I can give it to you because it's probably more efficient than.
John, can I just interject for a moment? There is a device you can obtain to protect yourself.
Yeah.
It is legal.
Yeah.
In the UK and in almost every country.
Kubertan.
And what it is, it's about the size of a flashlight.
Yeah.
It fires a high-powered laser which will blind someone.
Yeah.
Or it will cut their skin.
Sounds good to me. And the reason it sounds good to me is I'm past my prime, and we all will be one day, won't we? So it's all very well, you young strapping chaps at the back. I used to be thin. A time will come when this becomes more of a pressing issue. So I assure you. So we covered that, but I digress. So we've talked about what duress is, and the limitations are you can't voluntarily put yourself in that position. And the other thing, it doesn't justify an offence of treason or offence of murder. The treason was tested with Casement in 1919. Now, Mr. Casement was what we now call an Irish nationalist, or he was an IRA man before it became fashionable. He joined the British Army in the First World War and swore the oath of allegiance. Gets captured by the Germans, and then the Germans had a policy of interviewing all their captives and trying to make use of them. So they thought, Irish nationalists, we'll try and persuade him to sign other Irishmen to join form a body to go and fight the British because they hate them. And Casement went along with it. He said because it was for extra rations, and then he said because they threatened me. Unfortunately for Casement, the Germans lose the war, so Casement has to justify his actions. And the judge said, no, that's treason. No, you're going to hang. And then he did. Lord Hawthorne didn't try the same trick, did he? No. Lord Hawthorne ducked and died over his British nationality, but no, the judge said a similar thing. Long drop on a short rope. Which is interesting, I've got a list. And murder. So why can't you justify murder? The classic case is a cabin boy. So it's the 1860s or thereabouts, and a ship sinks, and there are 3 sailors and a cabin boy, and they're bobbing around on the sea, and eventually the issue of what to eat comes up. so they kill the cabin boy and they eat him. And so the matter goes before a court, and in fact they were convicted because it doesn't justify murder. And there's another reason why it doesn't justify murder, and it's the common law responsibility of every subject to maintain the Queen's peace. And the Queen's peace is the normal order prevailing in society, isn't it? So crime and disorder is a breach of the Queen's peace. We've all got a duty to maintain it. So if a criminal tries to make you do something, you're expected to try and do something about it, aren't you? Subject to what we talked about, surrender if need be, but you're expected to try and do something about it. So you can't be ordered by a bunch of criminals to go and murder somebody and then claim the defence. So those are the limitations on the defence of duress. Now, I'll give you a source for. I'll give you an example of a case where the defence of duress was used. The Stansted hijackers. Now, it was about 5 or 6 years ago, and it's the people living in Iraq before we invaded it. Without justification, before we invaded it, they 3 men get word that they've fallen out with Saddam Hussein's regime, which is bad news, really, isn't it? and they're going to be arrested, and various unpleasant things are going to happen to them and their families. So they book a flight on an internal airline, and they hijack it, and it refuels in, I think it was in Cyprus, and then eventually land at Stansted, and after a couple of days standoff, then they surrender. And they throw themselves on the mercy of the British taxpayer and claim their council houses, and they got them.
And they're still here.
And they're still here, that's right. So there's lengthy debates about the justification for duress. Does it have to be imminent, or does it have to be possibly next week? Well, the answer is, as long as you've got an honestly held belief he's innocent, and that's what I'm getting around to. The justification, the standard of proof that you have to have before you claim duress of circumstances, the balance of probabilities. You don't have, say we talked about the duck. You've got this attacker bearing down on you, looking like an attacker, and walking like an attacker, and talking like an attacker. Do you have to wait till you're sure before you defend yourself? No.
Because you don't know what he's going to do.
Exactly. Yeah, that's right. A practical example: it's Brixton Street Market about 6 or 7 years ago, and a man holds a traffic warden hostage. So he's got the traffic warden round the neck, and he's got a gun a pistol pointed to his head. Eventually somebody rings 999, and 2 police from an armed response vehicle arrive, armed with pistols, and they're confronted with the scene. And it's close range, 6 or 7 yards, reasonably easy pistol shot. And there comes a point where the man with the gun points at the 2 PCs, and they shoot him, and he falls to the ground dead. And the gun falls out of his hand, and lo and behold, it's a cigarette lighter. Are the policemen in trouble?
No.
No, they're not. No, because it's an honestly held belief, isn't it? Yeah. So there's a bit of a fuss because it was in the middle of the Brixton Street Market. It was a bit of a hoo-ha, but it was lawful. That really is the principle. So if you've got an honestly held belief that someone's a problem to you, then you can invoke duress. Now, what it does is it takes away the mental element from the crime that you commit, doesn't it? You might do the deed, you might drive the police car through the traffic lights, but you've got justification for you. So you don't do. So common law is no crime. So the Crown, if they want to negative your defence of duress of circumstances, what's the standard of proof for them?
You have intent.
It's beyond reasonable doubt, isn't it? It really is beyond reasonable doubt. Now, how do you prove what another person was thinking? It's tricky, isn't it?
Very.
It's tricky. So the Crown have got a problem, haven't they? The Crown really have got a problem. What it does is it reverses the burden of proof. The burden of proof goes on to the Crown to prove that you were wrong. So when I say this EU dictatorship and it's about to take away my life as a property, how are they going to disprove it? Or Holly Gregg. Holly Gregg's mother's written to umpteen MPs, members of the Scottish Parliament, policemen, lawyers, officials, and then she's taken action. She's gone public with Holly. She's been taking Holly to events and telling people about it. And of course, she's been criticised by social services for doing that. So what's Anne's mother's defence?
Lawful excuse.
Due for duress of circumstances. She had to do it. She had to do it. How can the Crown prove that what Anne's mother did was unreasonable and unnecessary?
They can't.
They can't. Unless they got every single MP, member of the Scottish Parliament, policeman, Crown official to come along and say, well, we got the letter and we did something about it.